Hey everyone, it's Ashley with Southern Sewing Company. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with a new video for my applique series. I'm going to show you how to take these scraps and turn them into a scrappy patchwork applique. Don't forget to check out my blog post for the free downloadable heart template. Stay tuned. So for this project, you're going to need a few things. First is Heat and Bond Light. This is a iron-on adhesive, and I'm going to put links in the description box below for all of the products that I'm using. This is a Crayola tracing box. This isn't totally necessary, but it's just nice to have when you're tracing. Rotary blade, a quilting ruler. If you don't have this and you want to use scissors, that's perfectly fine too. This makes cutting the fabric a lot easier. A heart shape, I printed this off Canva, which I'm going to show you how to do in just a minute. If you don't have Canva, if you don't want to print something out, just something traced works perfectly fine. A blank sweatshirt, I got this from Target. I'll put a link down below to something similar. Last but not least, you're going to need some scrap fabrics. I'm doing this for Valentine's Day since I'm doing the heart, so I chose various Valentine's Day in pinks. You can use whatever colors that you want. First thing you're going to want to do is get your sweatshirt. We are going to determine how big we want our heart. So you can make this as big or as small as you want to. I'm taking my ruler. I'm probably gonna put the heart about here so I can see that I want the heart about 6 inches long. I'm gonna take this measurement over to Canva and I'm gonna show you what to do from here. From Canva, we're gonna do a quick search for an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And usually this is a flyer, so I'm gonna click on that. And then I'm gonna open up a blank flyer document. From here, we're going to go to Elements and search for heart. I'm going to click See All in Graphics, and I'm going to pick a heart that I like, and I think I like this one. First, I need to change the color of it, so I'm going to change it to black so we can see it. Now I'm going to drag the corner, and at the bottom you can see the measurements of the heart as it changes. So I'm going to go up to about 6 to 6.5 inches, and then I'm going to download this and print it out. Here is my printed heart from Canva. If you go to my blog post, you'll find a free downloadable template of this heart. Next, I am going to determine what size squares I want to do for my patchwork. So to do this, you can either eyeball it, I'm deciding to get a ruler, and I'm kind of looking at what size square that I want. Here would be a 1-inch square. Here would be a 2-inch square. I've decided that I want each of my patchwork blocks to be about 1 inch. I'm gonna cut each of my fabrics into 1.5-inch strips and then 1.5-inch blocks. I'm adding the extra 1/2 inch because once I sew it into the patchwork, you have to account for the seam allowance, which is 1/4 inch. We are going to take our scrap pieces. I've got them all cut out into 1.5-inch squares, and I always cut way more than I need just so I can play with the placement here. And I'm going to take these and I'm going to lay them out however I think. Keep in mind, once you start sewing with your 1/4 inch seam allowance, these are going to get a lot smaller and they're going to end up being 1 inch. So while you might put 5 blocks in a row after you sew them, it's going to take up a lot less space. So depending on the size of your squares and the size of your heart, you're going to need a different amount. So the best advice that I can give you is cover your heart completely, sew them together in rows, and then redo this part and see if you need any more. But this is what I'm going to sew together. I'm happy with my layout here. I'm going to offset my seams just to save myself a little bit of work, and plus I think it kind of adds to the patchwork of it if we're not having these straight up and down seams. I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and sew my rows straight down. Completely covered, and I've got a little extra going off to the side. So I'm happy with this. I know this looks a little crazy right now, but we're about to trim it up in just a second. Let me show you what comes next. Take a tracing pad, an open window, some kind of a light source, and trace our heart onto our Heat and Bond Light. So I'm tracing onto the paper side of the Heat and Bond Light. Done with that. We're done with these two for now. Next, I'm gonna rough cut out this heart. Leaving a little bit of room around the entire thing. Next, we are going to iron on our heart to the back of our work, not the front. So So here is where you kind of have to play with the placement. So I'm making sure that everywhere where I see a pen, there's fabric. I'm going to fuse this on with my iron, and I'll show you what to do next. My patchwork is fused to my heat and bond light, as you can see. Next, I'm going to take a pair of detail scissors, and I'm going to cut my heart out very carefully. We've got our heart cut out now. It is so cute. You can definitely see how things came together, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. But next, all we have to do is fuse this to our sweatshirt, and then we're gonna sew as close to the edge as possible. So when you wash this, it actually kind of frays on the edge a little bit and gives it more of a worn and organic looking feel, which I think is really neat. Next, we're gonna take our sweatshirt, and what I'm gonna do is fold it in half and iron a crease down the middle. So this is actually helping me find the center point of my sweatshirt, and I can line up my heart from there. So when I'm happy with the placement, I'm gonna take the paper backing off, just like this. You can see all of our back there, that's pretty cool. This isn't sticky, so don't worry about messing up at this point. You can still move it around. And I'm gonna line up my heart with my center point line. I'm gonna fuse this into place, and I'll be right back. So next, we are going to sew our heart onto our sweatshirt. And like I said, we are gonna follow along the edge in a straight stitch all the way around. This shouldn't take very long. If you have a machine that does decorative stitches, this would be a really good time to do it around the edge and give it something special. One tip that I found when stitching on the front or back of clothing, it goes much easier if you flip your shirt inside out. So by flipping my sweatshirt inside out, I can let the inside of my sweatshirt that has my design on it lay flat on my machine, and it's a lot easier to manage the cumbersome extra fabric. So our sweatshirt is complete, and you can see I've stitched around the edges. I think I want to add a little bit of hand embroidery right here just to make it stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to take my Mark Be Gone pen. This is my favorite water-soluble pen. All right, love you. Very carefully right here. I'm gonna go with a pretty pink that matches my sweatshirt. I am gonna use all 6 strands. I'm gonna get a good size piece. I'm not gonna hoop this. I think it's just gonna be easier without it. Okay, I've got my needle threaded. I've got a knot that I'm gonna tie on the other end, and I'm just gonna do a simple back stitch. We're all finished with our sweatshirt. This is how it turned out. I'm super happy with the layout. I love the offsetting squares. I think it makes it look a little more interesting, and I also love the personalization right here. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to follow along for more. Let me know in the comment box if you have an applique that you'd like to see made onto a shirt in the future. Thanks, y'all.